I want to feed my family when I get out of the military. And then, that's good to make money, but it's even better to have a purpose. So what we try to do is connect military members in transition, veterans, family members, what's their passion and how can we connect them to a place that meets their needs.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Behind the Small Business. This one is going to be outstanding, guys. You're going to want to stick around for this. We have two of the top personnel from the Mount Carmel organization helping veterans. A veteran myself, this is something that is really near and dear to my heart, and seeing everything and all the amazing things that they do for the veteran community. And so really excited to have them up here with us today. Bring them up here in a second. But first, remember, guys, this is brought to you by Centennial State Insurance Agency. So if you have a need or want to get a new insurance quote for your personal insurance or business insurance, give us a call today at 303-838-0554, and open invitation to all small business owners out there. If you want to share your story, talk about your business, let us know either in the comments, send us an email, whatever it is. Just say, hey, I want to be on the podcast, and we will make it happen. No strings attached. So with that, Bob, Joe, guys, thank you very much for joining me today. How y'all doing?
Really good. I'll introduce myself and then turn it over to Joe. I'm Bob McLaughlin. I'm the executive director of the Mount Carmel Veterans Service Center. I'm retired Army here in Colorado Springs, trying to do everything we can to help our military veterans and their families.
Absolutely awesome.
And thanks for having us on, Kevin. I'm Joe Regan. I'm the director of the Colorado Veteran Business Outreach Center, which is a program at Mount Carmel. And my role here is to support the military community, our veteran community, to include military spouses that want to start or grow their own small business here in the state of Colorado. A fun fact for you and your listeners, if you didn't know it, $22 billion of Colorado's economy is coming from veteran-owned small business. So when you think of the strength of the veteran entrepreneurial spirit, we would be the fifth largest industry in the state of Colorado if veteran-owned small business wasn't its own standalone industry.
Honestly, I wouldn't even thought of that. And if I had, I wouldn't have put it that high up. So that is amazing. And I'm excited to hear, especially the business part of it as well. Give us a little background on Mount Carmel. Some of the, I know we can go to the website and look up the history and stuff, but I think it's pretty well known, at least down there in the Colorado Springs community. They've at least heard of Mount Carmel. If you go to any kind of fairs or festivals, I've seen your guys' booths around there from time to time. So I think you guys are known, but who are you? What was the beginning? What stood you all up, and kind of go from there?
So I'll give you the history of the Mount Carmel Veterans Service Center. It really started when I came to Fort Carson to serve from 09 to 12 as the garrison commander. In that position, I had a charter to help with resiliency and wellness for service members and readiness, of course. But my staff and I were really passionate about helping wounded warriors, helping Gold Star families, making sure that service members and their families were resilient and ready, and that if they were to be discharged, that they were discharged with honor and respect. And I spent 3 years in that position, putting many programs together to make sure that those things were in place. As a matter of fact, they're still in place today there on Fort Carson, which I'm very proud of. In that capacity, I met the late, great Jay Cimino. Jay's been gone for 2 years. He was the CEO and president of Phil Long Dealerships. A lot of history with Phil Long Dealerships. Phil Long himself was a World War II naval aviator.
Oh, wow.
Who ran the business from 1945 until when he passed in 2001. Jay was his right-hand man as the operations director, and then took over the business. And Jay's a former Marine who served, and Jay had a passion for the military, and Jay's from the town of Trinidad, and he loves his hometown. And in 2011, while I was serving on Fort Carson, he opened a nonprofit in Trinidad for health and wellness called the Mount Carmel Health and Wellness Center. And then as I got to know him, he kept talking to me about veterans in the community. And of course, I'm on active duty focused on on active duty service members. And he said, no, literally, he said, well, you need to retire someday, right? And when you do, we're going to help veterans in Colorado Springs. So at the time I had orders to Afghanistan and I kind of didn't pay much attention. And he grabbed me before he left. He said, you come back safe and we're going to talk. So 2013, when I was home on holiday leave, he grabbed me, we had lunch, and he said, I need you to make a decision on what you want to do with your life. And here's an option. He goes, I want to start a nonprofit in Colorado Springs. I want you to be my partner in this and run it. And I went home and talked to my wife. We have 5 children. At the time I had 5 deployments. And she said, just give it a chance, see what happens. So that was the beginning. 2014, when I retired, August 12th, 2014 was day 1 for me. And, I'm going on my 12th year. The doors of this center have been open for 10 years. And basically we designed it, and there's been growth over the years to fill in gaps for veteran military and their families to be able to get services that they need to sustain their health and wellness, their longevity, their support for their families. So it's been a amazing growth. 3 years ago, we had an opportunity to compete to become the host of the Colorado State VBOC, where Joe's now the leader. It was a great journey. That kind of put the icing on the cake to do behavioral health services, to do supportive service, to do job placement, to do suicide prevention, to help with homeless prevention, and then to add the Veteran Business Outreach Center. It's just been holistic and amazing to be able to operate like this. And I'm proud to have Joe on the team.
And I would just, add to that is I came to Mount Carmel starting as a partner organization and understanding the depth of what Mount Carmel was offering to the community. And what has always attracted me to Mount Carmel, what I hope people take away from our conversation, is that we've always tried to be this one-stop shop. And so when you look at the VBOC program, this is a nationwide program. There's 32 centers across the entire country. We're one of the only, if not the only one, that resides in a veteran service organization like Mount Carmel. And so that puts us in a unique position where, one, we're able to leverage the full scope of all 600 plus partners that Mount Carmel has to make sure that we're building a network around that veteran that's going to serve the best interest of the veteran. And it also allows us to really bring together different components of the Mount Carmel mission to ensure that we're reaching all different aspects of the community. When it comes to veteran outreach, regardless of what you're trying to engage with, it is a challenge to find veterans and meet them where they're at. And so the more ways that we have to engage with them, whether it's through the business community or through the mental health community or the physical health community, the more opportunities that we have to connect them with the resources that we have at Mount Carmel, the better we're able to serve the entirety of our veteran and military community.
I absolutely love hearing it. You're taking all these different things, and thinking about myself, thinking about my friends, veterans themselves, and each of us, we all have different needs. We have different experiences, different injuries, right? We're on the other side of being in the military now and just trying to figure out our way. I think is a big part of it for a lot of people is like, okay, well, now what? I know I went through that. I kind of still am. But I think, hearing about the VBOC, like what you guys are saying, I think is a great integrator, because I think a lot of veterans, they really want to have that American dream of opening their own business, being their own boss, right? And they have the work ethic, they have the dedication, and the discipline to be able to do that. So kind of walk me through, somebody walks into your guys' your place there, goes up to the VBOC or meetings or whatever, says, I want to start a business. What are some of the things that you help them out with? Because, I imagine that obviously with as many strengths as us veterans have, there are also some areas where we're lacking it. Maybe it's the real life experience, real world experience or whatever. So, how do you help veterans specifically in terms of getting their businesses started, and what does that look like from there?
So the number one partner that we have, so part of the Small Business Administration is a program called Boots to Business. And this is a training program that is offered through the TAPS process that transitioning service members can take. It's also open to military spouses. And we have a variant of this called Reboot, which is open to all veterans. And we offer that in various locations. So there's a couple of different touch points where we can engage a veteran as part of this journey. And that starts often with the TAPS process. So someone that can opt in to take the Boots to Business course. And it's a 2-day, fairly intensive program that I wouldn't even call it a 1-day MBA, but it really is. I tell people all the time, I said, listen, you've walked into this room this morning with a really great idea, and you are going to walk out tomorrow afternoon with that really great idea and 24 questions that you never thought to ask yourself about what it means to be a business owner and how you're going to take that idea and make it into a sustainable model. So a lot of times that is happening on installations as a service member is looking to get out. They know that that's the way that they want to go. Now, for some of us, we've been in the workforce for a while and deciding that self-employment is the way that we want to turn to. And so Reboot provides that opportunity that people can come to us and they have this idea, and we're able to kind of bring this 1-day course to them, but it's the same thing. Come in, great idea, walk out, tons of questions. And I would say what is unique about VBOC is that we are part of a broader economic development ecosystem across the state of Colorado and really nationwide, where business owners in each community have various tools to support small businesses as they're getting up and running. And so that has allowed us, it's a small team. We're only a team of 4 to cover down the entire state. And so by leveraging partnerships with organizations like the Small Business Development Centers, there's 14 of those across the state of Colorado, or academic institutions like UCCS or any of the other academic institutions across the state. And making those connections where folks are most likely to make that determination of, am I going to get a job or am I going to start a small business, to engage with them there. And then also through those partnerships, have that opportunity where someone says, hey, you walked into a small business development center and you're a veteran, let me connect you with VBOC as well, so that they can provide you with those unique services to veterans and potentially connect you with those programs. And a lot of that does come down to lending as well. So SBA has a number of lending products for small businesses, and they have some veteran-specific programs that offer incentives for veterans that are looking to start the small business. On top of SBA products, some of our SBA lending partners have non-SBA tools that they will use to support veterans in different ways. And sometimes, especially if there's a small capital requirement, when we're building out that capital stack for the business, maybe an SBA product isn't the best one based on what that business need is. And so we try to make the most to educate each client on what opportunities are out there and facilitate that conversation, so that when they go down and sit with a lender, they actually feel like, hey, I can have this conversation with confidence. And I think, where this fits into the broader piece of Mount Carmel is, again, the model that we have, and Bob can speak to this as well, that making sure that we're reducing any potential barrier, whether it's real or perceived, where that veteran can present themselves and have access to whatever services that they require across the different platforms that we offer.
No, Bob, I'd like to hear more about that, because I think, for me, part of it is I've kind of navigated this post-military life, is there are just so many resources out there. And it's kind of like, which ones are trustworthy? Which one, like, who can I rely on? Who's like, oh, we'll help you out, but for a fee, right? So what, kind of walk me through that part of it as well.
So I'll give you kind of the framework of what we do and why we focus on these things. Of course, the number one thing is, I want to feed my family when I get out of the military. And then, that's good to make money, but it's even better to have a purpose. So what we try to do is connect military members in transition, veterans, family members, what's their passion and how can we connect them to a place that meets their needs. I've found, whatever the rank upon retirement or separation is, happiness comes with purpose. And many people are making the money to support their family, but they're not happy. And that leads to more issues. So what we try to do is make sure that we're matching somebody's passion with what they want to do for employment. And, that's the perfect solution. So my transition and employment department, which nests very well with the VBOC, tries to make sure that happens, that someone finds a place that they love, and they feel good about it, and they make a paycheck and take care of their family. And then, of course, and we know some veterans aren't job ready. They're struggling with something. It might be an addiction issue. It might be something as a result of their combat operations or physical impairment. We try to make sure that they're taken care of so that they will be job ready. And then, of course, we all know in the military, the person who runs the household is not the service member. It's the spouse, man or woman. So we want to empower spouses to make sure that they have all the information that they need to help their service member and help their family. Yeah. One of the biggest things that I thought up front was we've got to help military families. Most Americans believe that the VA does everything for everybody. And frankly, taxpayers don't pay them to do that. Burials, benefits, and healthcare. And not everyone qualifies for everything. So, there's a statistic, sadly, that says of the 22 a day that complete suicide, only 40% of them are registered with the VA. Wow. So what I try to do in an organization like this is encourage people to get registered with the VA, but also use the services of nonprofits like Mount Carmel. I have a behavioral health center that helps. I have a supportive services department that helps with immediate needs. So starting with the job, wrapping yourself around the family and making sure that everybody has access to something that they need, whether it's a spouse that wants spouse employment, a spouse that wants to make sure their service member veteran gets behavioral health care, a child of a veteran, 18 to 24, that wants a job. So to me, the family isn't strong unless everyone is strong. So for me, we try to make sure we're wrapping our arms around the entire family.
Yeah. There's one part that you touched on that just really speaks to me. And it's probably something that anybody who's listening that wasn't a veteran probably doesn't understand it. And it's that idea, that sense of purpose, right? When we're in the military, we know where we stand, right? We have our rank on our shoulders or on our uniform, and we understand what part of the puzzle we're responsible for. And us doing our job well or not could directly impact the life of our buddy next to us, right? It could cause them harm if you're not doing your job right. And so you kind of have that. For me, at least, it took it for granted, right? I didn't understand what I had lost until I got medically retired, kicked out of the Air Force, and all of a sudden, okay, yeah, like where do I stand? What is my purpose? And that is such a huge thing for veterans. And so when you're looking through other resources and things out there, I think one thing that is continuously missing across a lot of this is that understanding and that purpose that's driving them towards helping the veteran is helping them find their sense of purpose, where they fit in now, what can they control, what are they doing to help better themselves, their life, the people around them, in maybe a more abstract way that the military is very strict on, right? Here's X, Y, and Z, here's all the policies and regulations. And so what other kind of things would you say you've seen from the veteran community of lately that maybe are trend items, things they're struggling on, things where maybe other business owners out there could find ways to help out, anything along those lines?
Well, for me, I'll turn it over to Joe for the entrepreneur piece, but for me, one of the things I didn't realize about doing this business is the power of volunteering. I did not understand at the beginning how important it would be to provide volunteer opportunities for people who might have retired for a second time, and how life-saving that can be. So the trend that I'm seeing is, if it's not purpose from employment, it's purpose from giving back. And I'll tell you, over the 10 years of doing the business in this building, you see the power of veterans helping veterans, veterans helping active duty, veterans helping families, and being able to offer a platform like Mount Carmel where vets can come in and volunteer to help others. It's fantastic. Whether they're a volunteer board member, whether they're at our food distributions, whether they're trying to help mentor other veterans. I mean, that's been something that I never expected, but that's a different kind of purpose other than focused on employment, which is which was a surprise to me initially, but we really strive to continue that. Joe, over to you.
Yeah, and I think I want to hit that on two different levels, because I think we talk about finding purpose, but I also want to talk about kind of how the military trains us to be entrepreneurs and how we come out with that natural skill set to do it. And in other organizations where I've worked, and Mount Carmel does touch on this as well, when we talk about workforce development. And one of the challenges that I've faced when I engage with larger corporations that are looking to hire veterans is to ask them, why is it that you want to have a veteran hiring program? And they're kind of taken aback, like, aren't you supposed to convince us to hire veterans? And I'll say, well, I want you to hire veterans, but I want you to hire them for the right reason. Because when you have a veteran that's in the wrong job, they're not going to find that satisfaction. And so when we look at the skill sets that we're actually looking to transfer from our time in the military to our time in the workforce, whether that's self-employment or other, is how do we leverage that creativity? An example I always use is go back and look at some of the Humvees from back in like circa 2006 into 2009, where you had all those windshields that surrounded the gun turrets. That was not DoD acquisition driving that. That was soldiers that saw a problem of they needed 360 visibility and didn't want to get shot in the back. And they saw a bunch of windshields sitting around the motor pool and said, hey, if we weld these to the turret, we can still see 360 and we've got coverage to make sure that us and our buddies don't get shot. You know, and that's that sort of problem solving that leads itself into that entrepreneurial spirit. And so when we see veterans come into our office, that's part of what they're seeing is regardless of what industry. What fascinates me is every time we teach a class, I kid you not, I have people that are in there. Some of them want to create an Etsy shop with their crafts, and some are trying to leverage some super fancy technology that they want to sell to DoD and everything in between. But it comes from that place of passion. And what is consistent with each and every one of our clients is that at some point in that conversation, the reason that they want to seek self-employment is they want that ability to leverage their business to give back to the veteran community or the community at large. And we've even had people that come that want to leverage some of the commercial experience, so a for-profit venture, to address some of the most critical issues that are facing the veteran population. So we talk about housing. We've worked with several clients that are trying to develop housing initiatives that are technically for-profit, but address the needs of our unhoused veterans and allow that sort of solution to a problem that we all see and we want to be able to solve. And so that's where I think where entrepreneurship and small business on the veteran side really start to combine is in this whole idea of when I can take my passion and I can turn it into something that's going to sustain my lifestyle, you can really see a lot of success. And where VBOC fits into that picture is I tell people, my job is not to tell you that your passion is or is not profitable. My job is to help you ask the difficult questions to figure out how to take that passion, take that great idea and make it into a sustainable business model that we can then move forward to allow you to do the things that you want in your personal life and in your community.
That's fascinating. I think I talk about a lot on this podcast is probably one of the reasons people don't open their small business, right? Things that are holding back is just the lack of knowledge, not even knowing where to begin.
Yep.
Right. I don't have a business degree. So therefore, I just know because we all hear those stats, right? Businesses fail majority of the time in the first 1 to 5 years, right? Even 10 years. It's not a good success rate. So there's a lot of apprehension there. And I think for anybody, I mean, especially veterans in this situation, to have someone they can go to that is going to teach them to ask those questions, like you're saying, and figure out what path they need to take. Look, they have, if they already have that passion, or you don't have to instill that in them. It's just more, here's the road, right? And teach them what the road is, and then get them going from there.
Yeah. And that's Eisenhower, right? Eisenhower said, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that's exactly what we do in our office. To me, it doesn't matter what industry you want to go into. I can build a plan. And I'll use myself as an example because I'm kind of funny. I went into small business and then went to grad school to get the MBA. And the only thing I learned at MBA school is everything in business is pretty much made up. And it's really all about how are you quantifying these assumptions and using that to figure out what you really need to do. But so much of it is, how do I create proper plans How do I make sure that I'm speaking the language of the individuals I need to? And in our case, a lot of times it's lenders. So how do I speak the language of finance? And so I tell people sometimes our job as a VBOC is where business is a second language, where I have to now take your military speak and translate that into, and teaching you how to translate that into the way our bankers, our lenders, and our other business folks speak, so that we can have that conversation and people actually understand what you're trying to do and why you're going to be successful.
Yeah, I like it. Just kind of switching topics here a little bit. How would or what are some of the needs that Mount Carmel has right now in terms of getting sponsorship from other companies, organizations? You know, we always talk about community involvement, and I love to pick the brains about different from different business owners on this, because everybody, it seems like, has a different, unique approach. But there is a consistent theme of people want to help out the communities that their business is a part of, right? So if there's anybody out there listening that is thinking of ways to either get more involved or find ways to get involved at all, and they're hearing this saying, like, this is a pretty good organization that I like to partner with, like, what kind of opportunities are there for other business owners to do that?
Well, in general, of course, in Joe's program, they can be mentors and they can help come to events and help other future entrepreneurs. But in general, you know, for me, the three things that I always ask people that I come in contact with is, number one, that nobody falls through the cracks, and that is that if you know somebody in need, no matter where they are, let us know so that we can try to get them the resources that they need. My biggest mantra here is warm handoff, so that if someone is struggling, they're probably a little bit vulnerable and don't have the wherewithal to navigate stuff. So one of the things we are proud of is we help navigate the resources for whatever the need is. So that's number one. Don't let anybody fall through the cracks. Number two is, like you said, if somebody has a superpower, whether it's massage therapy or they're a business owner or they're in the medical field and they want to do something for veterans, we want to partner with them. And then, of course, number three is we can't do this business without fuel in the engine. So, and fuel means the power of volunteering. It means fiscal support. It means coming alongside of us. So those are ways that if you're interested in, you can support Mount Carmel. I don't know if you're going to put out the information, but we're at veteranscenter.org, 530 Communication Circle here in Colorado Springs, 80905, 719-772-7000. So those are ways to get in contact with us.
And if I can add to that on specifically the falling through the cracks and the financial component of this, because as an example, Mount Carmel here in Colorado Springs hosted a homeless veteran stand down. And part of the outreach that we were doing is going to small business owners that were downtown, because a big complaint of our business owners downtown was, well, we have a homeless problem.
Yeah.
And so going to those businesses and actually handing them a flyer and say, hey, I know you see our unhoused neighbors in front of your business. Here's information that can help you address the problem, and made them part of that solution.
Yeah.
And so I would say to those business owners, when you see these things that are happening in your community, if somebody isn't reaching out to you directly, try and figure out who's managing that solution so that you can be part of that component of making sure these folks don't fall through the cracks. And if you're seeing a veteran that's on the side of the road that's panhandling, know the contact information that you can provide to them. Say, hey, call these people. That can help. And that solves that community problem, puts us all in this solution-oriented piece. And on a more practical sense, when you support local nonprofits, you are supporting your business. And this is a great way to show your support to the community and leverage both the philanthropic side of your business, but also the advertising component. When you are putting your business in front of and associating with an organization like Mount Carmel, you are showing that you are committed to building a military-friendly community that supports the neighbors and that you want to be part of that solution. And so that is a great way of leveraging your contributions to an organization like Mount Carmel to highlight your business, what you're able to do, and show your commitment to your community.
I love it. It's the idea of, it doesn't matter how small of an act it is, right? You're doing something. You're part of that solution. And, you know, I think maybe sometimes people are like, I get it, the business owner dilemma of you're just so busy, you just get stuck behind your desk, right? But if you can find us a little bit of time and maybe your own way, and this is a great way of doing it, of just doing something to give back, to help out, to improve somebody else's life, that is so monumental and so much more than a lot of other people do out there, right? So this is just, it's a fantastic organization. I love hearing about this, guys. It's awesome to hear the length at which you're willing to go to help people. And it's not just, okay, we found you a job, okay, we're done with you, right? There's all these different layers, the different, physical, mental, emotional kind of support that you provide, the spouses support that you provide. Very inspiring stuff. And I think we're, Colorado Springs, especially, Colorado in general, is very lucky to have an organization like yours, just helping people like me out. Because I know I'm going to reach out to you guys about some questions I have myself.
Good. Yeah, we're hoping you do. That's why Joe and I wake up in the morning and come down from Cheyenne Mountain to go to work.
I love it. Any other kind of thoughts about things that you guys experienced lately, or kind of things that you want the community to know about you guys before we kind of wrap up here?
Yeah, probably the number one thing is don't be afraid to ask. If you're connected to a veteran, or you are a veteran or a military member or family member, and you see someone that seems to be struggling, often they won't self-identify, but normally if you ask them if they need help, or they'll say yes. So just like with anything else in life, we're getting to a culture where people would rather film things on their phone rather than help directly. Ask if you think someone's not okay. Chances are they're not. Ask them if you can help them, and that's how we make lives better. That's how we save lives.
If you don't have it already, I ask everyone to add 988 into your phone. That is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number. Just one small tool. Don't be afraid to ask the question. It can be scary to ask, when you see something off, to ask that question, to ask them. But be honest. If you really think that they're going to hurt themselves, ask them. Are you thinking about hurting yourself? Are you thinking about suicide? And if they are, stay with them and help them get connected to the resources that they need. And I think that more than ever, we need people that are out there advocating for these sorts of services to say, listen, you can be successful. And there's a million stories at Mount Carmel that we could talk to you about people finding that purpose and coming back from some pretty dark places. And what we're talking about is, we should be talking about this like we talk about the flu. Whatever you're going through, we can help you get through. Or there's people out there that can help you get through it. And those loved ones that are around that are around you, those are the ones that are going to see it first. Have the courage to ask the hard questions. Make the resource connection.
I just heard somebody talking about this the other day, and it's a good reminder, for me as well. We always ask people as we pass them by or whatever, hey, how you doing? Oh yeah, I'm good. Yeah, okay. Right, and you move on with your life. But to take that step, like Joe, like what you're saying, no. How are you really doing?
Yep.
Right. And that alone, I mean, that's such a rare occurrence in today's society, right? To be like, no, I'm stopping what I'm doing because I want to hear what you have to say, like how are you actually doing? And I want to talk to you more than just a passing hi in the hallway or whatever. So, man, I absolutely love this. And I think as time goes by, I'd like to have you guys on again, or maybe other people from the organization as well, just to make sure that message continues to get out there and highlight all the amazing things that you guys are doing. So, Bob, Joe, seriously, guys, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Kevin. Honored to do it.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, seriously, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you heard some awesome things. If you're a veteran, please reach out to these guys. Even if you don't know what you need help with, right? Just, hey, here's my situation. What services do you provide that could maybe benefit me? And I'm sure these guys would be more than happy to help you get set up, at least going in the right direction there. If you're not a veteran, or you're a business owner and you want to find ways to get more involved and help out an organization such as Mount Carmel Veteran Services, reach out to these guys and again, get involved with them. Every little thing helps, guys. But this, again, really quickly, is brought to you by Centennial State Insurance Agency. So if you're looking for a quote, please reach out to us at 303-838-0554, and an open invitation to all small business owners out there to come on up here and share your story and your experiences and highlight your business. So we're going to wrap things up here. Until next time, when we pull back the curtain and take a look behind another small business. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you later.